Hi everybody and welcome again to our Advanced Operations with SQL Source Control module. In this class we're going to be looking specifically at some technology that allows you to apply filters to the objects that you're source controlling. So what I mean by this is so far we've kind of made changes in SQL Server Management Studio, and all of those changes to all of the objects that we've changed have shown up in our commit tab, made available for us to pass over to our source control system, TFS in this case. But actually sometimes there's situations where we want to exclude certain things from source control. And to do this we need to configure filters so that those objects which we don't want to end up in the repository can be cut out from that commit process. So this is something that's very easy to achieve, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it in SQL Server Management Studio. So let's jump on in. And here we are in our familiar SQL Server Management Studio window with our familiar Redgate University dev database. Now, prior to recording this video, I've already made a few changes so that we've got some things that we can apply filters to. So if I right-click on this database and click Commit Changes to Source Control, you'll see we have three separate changes that are ready to be committed in this instance. We have a new stored procedure called I'm a real sproc. We have a new table called new table, and we have another new stored procedure called test underscore sproc. So this is not a real stored procedure. This is in fact just a test object that we've configured. So what I want to show you here is how we can configure different filters to allow us to selectively pick and choose which of these objects go into the source control repository. Now, to change the filter settings, all I need to do is once again right-click on the database that's linked to SQL Source Control and choose Other SQL Source Control Tasks. And here, the third option down, you'll see is Edit Filter Rules. And if I click that, this will open up a dialog box which will allow me to define my filter using a few different approaches. Now, the first way that we can define a filter is by defining which object types we want to include or exclude from our commit process. Now, a typical use case for this particular example is things like roles and users. Maybe we don't want to include those in the source control repository, and instead we want to handle that outside of SQL Source Control with some kind of post-deployment script to make sure that we're associating the correct users with the correct environment or something along those lines. Now, if that's something that we wanted to achieve, we could simply deselect these options by unchecking the boxes, checking the boxes, and that will exclude them from the commit. To give you an example of this, here within my list of 3 different objects that I'm committing changes to, if I wanted to exclude changes to stored procedures, I can just deselect that option. And then when I click Save and Close, you'll see that on this Commit Changes tab, of those 3 changes that we had to commit previously, we now only have one, the table change, and the addition of this filter that's going to be stored in the source control repository too. Now, if I want to change this back, I can just simply click on the link here to edit the filter rules, or I could go through that process of right-clicking the database again. So let's include all of these and look at a different way that we can include or exclude objects from the source control repository. On the right-hand side of the screen here, rather than using the checkboxes to select the object type, I can actually define rules for what to include or exclude. And these start with the choice of excluding or including if. So here I could say exclude or include if. I'm going to say exclude. The object name or schema name, I'm going to say object name, begins with, ends with, contains, equals, does not equal, so on and so forth. There's many different categories that we can choose from here. I'm going to stick with begins with, and I'm going to specify any object that begins with test underscore should be excluded from the commit. Now this is quite a simple definition, but you'll see I have links here to enable me to add and clauses, or conditions, anything that I want to build out a really comprehensive rule set of what should be included and what shouldn't be included. So I'll just remove these and we'll go back to our simple definition of exclude if the object name begins with test underscore, and then click Save and Close. And now the commit tab will refresh, and once again we'll see that we have a filter in place, but this time 2 of our objects remain to be committed to the repository. So we have I'm a real sproc and that new table. That test underscore sproc stored procedure that we also had there previously is now being filtered out. Now to continue with the commit, all I need to do is add my comment, added a new real sproc, and then click commit. And this will pass over those objects and that filter to the source control repository. And there you go. You can define filters to exclude or include exactly what you want in your source control repository, giving you the flexibility and control to work in a way that makes sense for you. So thanks very much for watching this video. Join us again where we'll be looking at various different ways that you can deploy out from the source control repository using some more of the Redgate SQL Toolbelt tools.